Brian, you want to get Glenn on?
Let's do this.
Let's do it.
Pete, hang in there for a second. I'm going to put you on mute. And Mike, you sing a song.
Okay, I'll sing a song. Let me thank everybody again for watching. You're watching a brand new Ike Live. First one we've had back since the Bassmaster Classic. It's good to be back with everybody. Just in a second here, we're going to get Glenn Hughes on the phone. Glenn is the president of the ASA. And, of course, we had to get Glenn on first to talk about how everything that's gone on, how this virus situation is not just affecting the world, but how it's affecting the sport that we love, how it's affecting sport fishing, how it's affecting people's livelihood in the profession, and recreational anglers too. It's affecting everybody. So great guy to get on to get his insight on what's going on right now with sport fishing in relationship to COVID. I think we've got him. We got him on the phone here, Brian. We're close to it.
Yes, we do.
Okay. I think we've got him joining us via Skype. We're going to find out where he's at. I think he's home. Is Mr. Glenn Hughes, president of the ASA. Glenn, how you doing tonight?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me. Thanks, Mike, and of course Pete. I really appreciate you guys. You're engaging. You get me fired up. You get a lot of people fired up, and as I told Brian earlier, you're 47 going on 17, and I'm 56 going on 16 right now.
Yes.
Because I love fishing and I love everything about fishing, and so I appreciate what you guys do, and we appreciate you teaching anglers how to fish at Bass University, and also the support of our Pitch It campaign as well, and making sure people are good stewards of our waters.
Yeah, well, I appreciate that. And Glenn, I know you're not just the president of the ASA. I know you're actually a fish head too. You breathe it, you sleep it, you eat it, just like we all do. I want to jump right into it, Glenn. This is, I keep hearing the term unprecedented times, and it is. It's unprecedented. It's strange. It's weird. It's crazy. It's scary, all rolled up into one. But I want to jump right into how all this is affecting fishing, because the best gauge for me, Glenn, is when I make a post, and I'll make a post of me fishing. I make a post, and I'm literally in my kayak by myself out back here, and I'll make a post, and it seems like to me I've get about 70-30 seems like the response thus far. And I have people that love the fact that I'm out fishing, that I love the fact that I'm outside engaging in the sport that I love, practicing social distancing, doing the right things. But I get about 30%. It seems like that number's growing every day that say, Mike, you need to stay in. You need to stay home. They need to shut down fishing. Why are you out? You shouldn't be engaging in sport fishing right now. You shouldn't be doing it. Where do you fall on this, Glenn? What's your mindset on how everything that's happening, and how it's affecting the sport that we love?
Sure. So, like you, I haven't been out on the water for a couple hours now. I wasn't catching striped bass here in Maryland because you can't catch striped bass in the month of April right now. You can't even target them. So I didn't catch a couple of stripers earlier today. I did not.
Oops.
But and yesterday I might not have caught fish that you're not supposed to target because I didn't keep them to eat them. But I'm all in on fishing all the time. If you don't mind, I would like to back up. I appreciate what you said earlier, and you've said it a few times now. Really mentioning the doctors and nurses. A real shout out to them. They're on the front lines. My wife is a beautiful wife of 28 years. Beth is an emergency department nurse. She's working tonight in Annapolis, and gosh, she's such an amazing person, and right there working the front lines. I'm very proud of her, and I'm also very worried about her well-being. So we need them to stay safe.
Absolutely. So important. I mean, it's a crazy time, and they're the ones that are really, really dealing with this all the time. So we appreciate it for sure.
So back to what you were saying. It's still surreal, right? Like we said, we were all at the Classic. We were still shaking hands. and there was a few elbows and a few foot taps and things, but we really didn't know what we were headed into for these next 4 weeks. And I would travel that following week as well. Was at what's called the North American, hanging out with 600 members of different state and federal agencies, combination of all 50 states represented. Only agency that really wasn't represented was the Department of Agriculture and the Forest Service, because they finally pulled out right then and there. And we did practice more social distancing in terms of the handshakes and all. But these states want us to go fishing, except for right now, the state of Washington and South Carolina. And I think that proper, what we call responsible recreation, we've created a new hashtag, hashtag responsible recreation. I also think Fish Responsibly works. That we can be on the water. They say we can go for a walk, we can go for a jog, we can ride our bikes. Well, then we can also fish responsibly, keeping our social distance and not getting in anybody's way.
Yeah. It's again, we try to be very open-minded here on this show, but it's hard for me to wrap my hands around why a state like Washington, why South Carolina are putting these big, broad bans on the sport. Glenn, I can tell you just locally, and Pete will back me up on this, a lot of our ramps are closed here, right? So the state of New Jersey, I don't believe, has put any rules against fishing out there. But Pete, we've got Delaware River ramps closed. We have state park ramps that are closed. And it's really deterring a lot of people from going out and engaging in the sport.
It's true.
I was talking with Chris Smith of the DEP for New Jersey, and they're encouraging fishing. They opened up the trout season a couple weeks early to try to lessen the pressure on opening day, so that we could get some social distancing involved with that program. As of right now, the state parks are open, but the city ramps are all closed. Like, depending on the city, they've closed some things down. But Glenn, it seems like especially after listening to you, like, fishing can be a very responsible recreation. But I think what's happening are us as fishermen, we're getting grouped in with the pleasure boaters. So in order to keep that social craze, like from spring break party scenes happening and beach or boats beaching themselves and having parties, in order to shut down that activity, are the fishermen getting grouped in with that bunch?
Well, not only the fishermen, but I love the pleasure boating market as well. And again, it's a few bad apples that have spoiled it for a lot of other folks. If I go to a boat ramp that's open, I'm not really getting within 6 feet of folks, and I'm not really using their facilities either. And I think that we can boat ramps responsibly just as well. And so don't have the parties on those islands. Don't have crowds on the beaches. Maintain your distances. Be smart. And I think that the boaters should be able to participate just as well. They're partners with us in this, and love having. We have a little saying here in our industry with the boating industry. We go together like peanut butter and jelly. You don't have to fish from a boat by any means, but at the same time, it sure is enjoyable. So we're getting lumped in. Responsible boaters are getting lumped in, and that's not right. So that's part of what we're trying to do, is make that known. So on our website at keepamericafishing.org, as well as asafishing.org, we've got a map that has an interactive connection to link to each state, and it's a letter that we've written to each governor to make sure that they know that fishing is important to their state. So in New Jersey, for example, letter to your governor reminds them that you have almost 1 million anglers in New Jersey that spend almost $1 billion in New Jersey, and it creates more than 7,500 jobs. And so that's important on the economic side of it. And then on the other side of it is the health and well-being of folks. We think they have an opportunity to enjoy themselves outside, and anglers shouldn't be shut down. Now, I think where it gets confusing for a lot of folks is, and you can also find some of this information on our website, is that all ramps are not owned by the same folks. You've got Army Corps of Engineer ramps. You've got national parks and state park ramps. You've got Fish and Wildlife or the state DNR's ramps. And so you really don't know. And you almost have to look if your local ramp is closed. It doesn't mean that another ramp isn't open, because they're not all owned by the same folks.
Yeah.
Or run by the same folks.
Yeah. I want to.
Yeah, that makes.
You go ahead, Pete.
I was just going to say that makes a lot of sense, because we're seeing that, and everybody's getting a lot of chatter. Is that ramp open? Is this ramp open? And and the Chesapeake, I work on the Chesapeake, so I guide and I teach down there, and it was interesting to see that you weren't catching any stripers today or recently down there. But
I was targeting catfish, and I was targeting white perch.
Right. White perch bites.
Well, as guides, that's what we're all wrestling with it, because two of my good buddies, and I don't know if you heard us talking about it before you came on, but we're trying to figure out whether or not we can take people out fishing, and the rules seem to say no to us.
Well, of course, each state's different. And so I appreciate the president when he talks about when people are trying to force him to say that they have to make these overreaching across all 50 states. We're in a republic, and it's a beautiful thing. And the governor should be able to make that determination with good input from their constituents. And so in state of Maryland right now, we've got our own issues regarding striped bass. We don't need to dwell on it too long, but as you know as well as I do, Pete, you're not allowed to target, not even catch and release striped bass through the month of April. Very disappointing to me. I'm working closely with the DNR there. And so we're trying to make sure that anglers have as much opportunities to catch fish, striped bass specifically, for the rest of the summer.
Well, and I saw that. I was reading some of the work that you're doing down there, and I think it's great for anglers to know the work that the ASA is doing. You guys are actively out there, working on behalf of the angler. In this case, the Chesapeake, where I was reading where the charter boat people have the ability to keep 2 striped bass, where your regular leisure angler only keeps 1, and it's an unfair distribution there. And you guys fight stuff like that for us.
We do. If I can back up for a second. So American Sportfishing Association, our responsibility and mission is to look out for the interests of the sport fishing industry and the entire recreational fishing community. So we do look at things nationally a lot of the time, but we also go pretty deep into some of the government affairs issues around the country. We want clean water, we want sustainable, abundant fisheries, and we want access to those fish. And you might have great fisheries, but if you don't have access to them, then we can't fish, and you can't build an economy on it. So besides those 3 things, if we're able to do those things, and we're able to help support increasing participation and also support this trade and commerce side of it, if we're doing all those things right, then we've got a good economy. And if we have happy anglers, we have happy manufacturers, then that makes me happy. But right now, our manufacturers are not happy.
Yeah, I can imagine. I know, we deal closely with some of our manufacturers, and we're doing what we can as people out there. We're trying to help these companies and work extra hard. I know, especially guys like Mike and us at the Bass University, we're ramping up our efforts to try to help support these guys, because we know the manufacturers are going through a pretty tough time right now, and we're doing what we can.
It's tough. Again, the way the conversation's changed over the last 4 weeks is rather remarkable, and we don't want to really air dirty laundry as far as the trade side. At the same time, anglers need to know, as you've stated earlier tonight, keep buying product, keep buying the rods and reels and lines and lures that you want, and marine electronics and tackle bags and sunglasses and hats and shirts and hey, throw in a boat and motor while you're at it. But these manufacturers, they were having great years. They were really doing well through January and February. Some would say record winners, as a matter of fact. And come the second week of March, it's shut down. And so, there's pockets, and there's still fishing around the country. a lot of retailers you can't go in; they're shut down. A percentage a large percentage of them are shut down at this point, just doing some form of e-commerce business. The manufacturers in a lot of different areas are not able to produce product or distribute product right now. It's really tough on the bottom line when this season, the best season of the year, March, April, May into June, and they can't produce or ship product. So we need folks to get out there and buy the product that's in the retail stores now, and buy it now, buy it more, buy it often. These guys need the help for sure.
Yeah, they do.
Well, Tackle Warehouse, I know they're hustling and doing what they can out there. And I was trying to buy some red chatterbaits, and they're sold out. So there are some things that are really flying off the shelves.
Try the blue chatterbaits there, Pete.
The blue chatterbaits?
Blue, green, pink, chartreuse. Pick another.
Pick another color.
I want to keep talking about this business thing, because the reality of it is and it's loud and clear. You know, we're all going to try to support these companies. We're going to try to support the companies that are in this business that we love. But Glenn, the reality of it is a lot of these companies aren't going to make it out of this. The mom and pop shops are going to be hurt. A lot of the manufacturers are going to be hurt. They're not going to come out on the other side of this. What happens when all this is over? If it's 3 months, 6 months, 8 months, what happens? Is there a reset button? Is there what happens to the mom and pops that can't keep going? What's next for these guys?
Great question. And part of it is, how long does this go on? How long is this? It's going to get worse the next couple of weeks. I think we all agree with that. How fast does the curve come back down? I think a couple of $1 trillion into the economy helps people get through these next 6 to 8 weeks, and hopefully we'll be able to get outdoors sooner than later. But these are things that really are dependent upon being able to get past this virus sooner than later, so that we can participate at the level that we want, and that the retail stores are open. And I would say, on top of all this, as good as those sales were, a lot of these manufacturers haven't been paid on those sales yet, because of a combination of how the product is distributed and when the payments come. And when they're asked to have extended terms and they haven't received that money, it's that much more difficult for them right now. So I can't emphasize enough the importance of getting out there and buying some fishing tackle to help these guys get over that hump. Like you said, though, it's really hard to say what's going to happen with some of the large or small companies. How much are they leveraged at this point? The banks are supposed to be working with them, and that can be confusing as well. Yeah. I got to touch on what we have each year. I talked to Brian about earlier is, our main revenue stream is the ICAST show in July in Orlando.
Yeah.
And if you're like me, it's Kid in the Candy Store. It's favorite week of the year. Yes. I've been going to the show for 30 years. Yeah. And I can't get enough of that show. I wish it was longer, never enough time, never get to see everybody that we want to see. And that show right now is open for business. And we have every intention of the show happening, but it's going to be impacted by this, of course. And the manufacturers are struggling right now, deciding what they're doing as far as their staffing, as far as their investments, and really how much money can they spend even this summer. So we wish them the best. We're going to work hard for them, and I think it's going to be a great time to get together in Orlando in July and bring this group together, network, make sure that not only retailers and manufacturers get together, but the media gets there, and the media starts talking about the new products again, and it really fires up the audience of anglers to make sure they get out on the water, not only to fish, but buy more product.
Yeah, well, I hope, I personally hope we're through all this and we get to go to ICAST. I told Brian earlier, I've been at every one since 1998. Ooh. I've been at every ICAST, so I've got a long run there too, and I hope it happens. But the reality of it scares me, because when you see major events in the mainstream world, like the Olympics, Wimbledon, all of pro golf, pro football, pro baseball, canceling for the rest of the year,
Yeah.
It makes me wary. You know, it makes me wary that we're going to get to see it happen, and I hope we do, but I'm unsure we will.
It's exhausting. It's from dawn to dusk and beyond. Of course, it's this conversation goes on. I've worked very closely with a great team at our office. I have a great group of board that work with me. And I talk to many of the other members as well, and fully understand the situation that they're in right now. And I'll mention on our side, we're not in a position right now that we have to make a decision.
Right.
The Outdoor Retailer Show was just canceled this week. That's about 3 or 4 weeks before our show. It's April 5th. We're looking for people to have some patience and some understanding. We're going to try to be transparent, share with them as much information as we can, and they're going to need to make decisions right now. If you're making a decision, try to make a decision based on the show going on. If for some reason, God forbid, that the show has to be postponed, then we'll let you know that then as well. And so, but let's get to the other side of this and talk again in early May, and then really see what kind of position we're in, because April 5th is not a good time to make that call.
Right.
I think early May is a chance to have people have a little bit better idea of where they are and what we're looking at for the future.
Yeah. Yeah.
Glenn, would you guys consider moving the ICAST dates to the fall or a different time, or if you decided it would be the following year?
We're looking at all contingencies. The situation with, say, the Orange County Convention Center, for example, we've been there. This would be the 7th year in a row, I believe, and pretty much around that same week of July each year. There was time then when we moved in. Really, the Orange County Convention Center is incredibly busy the fall through the spring. And you think about all the shows that are being canceled right now in March, April, and May, and they're either canceling or they're looking for dates this fall. And I've had a number of conversations with our board and with other members, and there's a lot of other things that take place in the fall for these guys, a lot of other wholesaler shows. And so just moving into the fall is not necessarily the answer. And at the same time, we've been told by our friends at the Orange County Convention Center that a show our size, there's not necessarily even a time period available right now that could fit us. That facility's large, but they've got 2, 3, 4 shows going on at the same time, all fall and all winter long.
Wow.
Gotcha.
Well, let's keep our fingers crossed. I don't want to miss an ICAST. I want to be at another one this year. Glenn, let's talk about the future a little bit, because we want to. I think we want to all believe we're going to get through this. We will, hopefully sooner than later, right? Best case scenario, all this is we've got a vaccine. Things are turned around. By June, we're back in the swing of things. The world's back in its normal flow. But I want to talk about the future, because it's hard to imagine for me that after this, life in any walk of life will be the same. Certainly won't be the same, I don't think, in fishing, in sport fishing. Two-part question for you, Glenn. First one is, on the other side of this, will it be as bad as it was for the industry, say, in 2008, 2009? Will it be that bad? Will it be worse? And then the second part of that question is how long before things get back to normal? How long before things get back on track?
Wow. Oh, those are easy questions. Thank you, Ike. I appreciate that. I got this right here for you. Again, so first and foremost, it's going to be the timing of us getting over this virus at this time, and how soon we can do that, and if we can have a normal summer. Chances are we won't have a normal summer, and so I believe that our industry is going to be worse off than it was in 2008. It caught us so much by surprise. It's devastating to think that the business might have slowed down a lot back in 2008, but we were open and you were allowed to fish, and people did go fishing, as we used to say. In good times we go fishing, and in bad times we go fishing.
Yeah.
And so, I enjoyed 25 years in the media business, and the fishing business stayed fairly consistent throughout that time. And now we've got 50 million anglers out there. We've got that fish at least once a year. And when you think about how many people that is across this country, and the desires to continue to do that with family and friends, I think that fishing is going to continue and be very strong as far as people getting out on the water. Now, as far as the industry is concerned, it's really how long does this period of time take? The month of April, the month of May, how much of the business is going to be impacted by that? Yeah. If they can't survive these first 2 months, then that's going to be the answer for those folks. I think anybody that can survive these next 2 months are going to do pretty well coming out of it come next fall and into next spring. Now, again, it's still up in the air as far as when we get past this. And I'm not a doctor, but I listen to my wife every day, and she can tell me more and more, and she's hopeful as well. But at the same time, we've got to get past it. So I think that the industry has been doing very well. It's strong. It's got some deep roots. We've got a great database, I think, of retailers. I think we've seen a real resurgence of the local retailer. If they can get through this time, I think the local retailer's been stronger than they've been in a long time. And so we had a nice run from 2012 to 2020 and into this winter. And I think that next spring we're going to come out pretty strong again as well.
Good. And here's the other flip side to this, Pete. And back me up on this, Pete. It's not all negative. It's not all doom and gloom, right? Because when you look at this, and maybe this is just me, but when I look at this, I see fishing as a relief to all this, right? As an escape to everything that's gone on. I see it as, a sport that might get picked up by a lot of new people on the backside of this, right? Somebody doesn't want to be around 1,000 people, in a different kind of sporting event. Fishing is a great sport because it is solitary. You can enjoy it by yourself or with your children. You don't need a lot of people. I honestly think that on the backside of this, a lot of new people will pick up the sport. Do you agree with that, Pete? What do you think?
Well, I do. And I bring it back to a pretty cool quote from a guy you guys all know, Ray Scott, said this. When the economy is going through some sticky spots, fishing participation goes up. It always does. And I think it's for the for the reasons that you said. It's in fishing can be done as inexpensively as anything out there to participate in. I mean, for a limited budget, you can get out and fish, and you can do it all the time, and you can, of course, take it as far as you want to go, like we have. So I think these times are going to be a great time for people to get out. And I think you're right too, Mike. We're seeing new people all the time getting interested in Bass University and getting interested in learning and signing up for the program. And we're seeing a lot of that right now. But
Can I make a comment on that, Pete?
Yeah, sure. Please.
So we work closely with an organization called the Recreational Boating and Fishing Foundation, RBFF, and their website is takemefishing.org. And really, they're the impetus behind getting new folks out on the water. We're talking about they're doing the hard job of trying to reach the not the avid anglers, but those new anglers, and therefore they're focused on women, they're focused on kids, they're focused on multicultural families. And they've done a great job. And we've watched fishing participation grow from 45 to 50 million over the last 5-6 years. And we still have goals to get to 60 million anglers. And so, like you said, I think this is a chance for new folks to get out and try it, and that have some time with the families, are looking for things to do, and getting out on the water. What could be better than that?
Yeah, nothing could be better than that. And, I keep trying to find ways to go myself. And I really appreciate the work that you're doing. And I hear, the things that you're saying, which is, you're telling us as anglers that, continue to support those products, buy those products, support all those companies that keep you all fishing. Go fishing where it's safe, and it's you're allowed to participate in it. Do it safely and do that. What else as anglers can we do to support the ASA? We're good stewards of the environment. We want to help. What can we do to help?
I appreciate that. And so again, I'll say that ASA is a trade organization for the sport fishing industry, and that's really the manufacturers, the retailers, the media, and the associations that work to make sure we have good conservation. So from an angler standpoint, it's being conservationists and getting out on the water and buying product. And so that's the best. And make sure, let's share social ideas that are positive, that are conservation minded, that are responsible. So like I said before, hashtag responsible recreation and fish responsibly, and make sure you're staying up to date with those terms and changes that are happening at each state, so that you are not getting in trouble, but you are fishing responsibly. So as much as anything, support your local retailers, support the retailers that have taken care of you over the years, and make sure, everybody needs another rod, reel, line, or lure. We know that.
Of course.
And this is the perfect time to get it. This is the perfect time.
It is.
I know I'm doing it. I'm home. I'm going through my tackle.
I just broke a rod today. I need the rod.
What was that?
I just broke another rod today. I only have about 30. I got to get another.
They have to be replaced immediately, and I think we're all doing that. I'm out in my garage all the time working on my tackle, putting orders together, and I'm stocking up. So I'm going to try to do my part there. But are you, Glenn? Are you going to be entering into Ike's fishing contest out there on weighing catfish in on the Chesapeake or something?
Not stripers, but catfish.
It's. I have not. I've been in Maryland for 6 years now, and we have an office outside of D.C. in Alexandria, Virginia, and so I have not I was down in Florida for a long time, and I haven't really figured out the bass fishing areas. Although my friend Alan Luck has certainly been talking and showing off some big bass in southern Virginia, and so I might need to get down there and jump on his old boat. But otherwise. To me, like you guys, I think it doesn't have to be a big fish. I just love catching fish. I love fishing, big or small, new species, new records for myself. I just got my largest striped bass in March, 46 inches. That was awesome. Loved it. Shout out to my buddy Keith Frazier on that at All Tackle. And that was just 2 weeks ago while we could still fish for him. And so, gosh, I'll never forget it. Never forget it for sure. And some point we still talk about Philly sports. I'm a Philly boy, right?
I know that.
I did not know that.
Born and raised.
Man, are you still celebrating the Super Bowl like I am?
All right. Can you see this? This is a shout out to my son Connor and his future bride Emily. Can you guys see this?
Look at that.
Philly special. Hell yeah.
Philly.
She, my future daughter-in-law, Emily, made this Philly special pillow for me for Christmas. Awesome. So how cool is that?
That's cool. Very cool.
And so I've got the paraphernalia, and the last 2 seasons have not been so good, but we'll never forget it. I just needed one. I'm a happy guy. I've been frustrated for a long time. And so now we've got one, and people can just leave us alone.
That's right.
I agree. I think it was awesome, and I'm such a Phillies fan that I was even happy to see Andy Reid win this year.
I was happy for Andy Reid as well. He was a good coach. He is a good coach, and I don't want to say he didn't. It was probably time for him to go when he left Philadelphia, but I'm happy for him and that team. Anybody but the Patriots, right?
I know.
And the Cowboys.
That
How many Cowboy fans on right now? So Philadelphia is important to me. The Philly sports were important to me. I have a twin brother, Keith, who played pro ball for the Phillies.
Oh, wow.
And I grew up fishing in the Poconos of Pennsylvania. My dad still lives in the house that we bought 55 years ago. Wow. And he's going to celebrate his 92nd birthday this year, or this week. And he introduced me to fishing probably when I was 2 years old. So God love that man.
Right on, man.
Right on.
That is good stuff.
Right on. That's good stuff. Well, Glenn, I appreciate you coming on the show and helping us flesh this out. A lot of people watching and listening right now. They want to keep fishing. So I think what they heard tonight is keep fishing. As long as you're following, social distancing, you're following state and federal guidelines, go fishing. Keep enjoying the sport you love. Keep buying stuff. Just keep going. And I appreciate your perspective on it. Appreciate all the work you guys are doing to help keep everything flowing. It's really, really important. So we appreciate what you're doing.
It's our pleasure. We're passionate about it. And so we appreciate what you're doing as well. And everybody just get out and go fish responsibly.
There you have it. Glenn Hughes, everybody. Glenn, stay safe. Appreciate you, man.
Thanks.
Thanks, Glenn.
There, guys.
Thank you, Glenn.